All right, guys, we're going to rock and roll here shortly. The Tuesday edition of the I Love CVille show. Hope the 4th of July treated you well. We'll catch up with Judah, see how he enjoyed the 4th of July and the fireworks shortly. Lot to cover on today's program. Bus routes are getting uglier instead of prettier, especially for Charlottesville City school kids. There are going to be less bus routes this coming fall. We'll take a look at that today on the show. We'll talk about a UVA men's tennis player making it to the Sweet 16 in Wimbledon. Former UVA men's basketball player Anthony Gill has re-signed with the Washington Wizards. I got some data from you from cars, vehicles, automobiles. For the first time in American history, 12%, it's the highest number in American history, 12% of car buyers in June finance their vehicle, now have a monthly payment of $1,000 or more. $1,000 or more on an automobile.
Insanity.
On an automobile. When gas is through the roof right now. Now, you could make an argument that it's not a depreciating asset right now, and in fact, cars or automobiles appreciate. But still, $1,000 a month for a car payment with interest. 12% of buyers in June did that. We'll talk about that today on the program. A lot we're going to cover today, including some scuttlebutt. We're hearing on the hallowed streets of Charlottesville that the 5th Street Waffle House may be hasta luego. So long, peace out, sayonara. All those topics and more on the Tuesday edition of the I Love CVille show, fresh from a 4th of July 3-day weekend. A lot to cover. Judah Wickower, my friend, we can rock and roll when you're ready.
Quiet on the set.
Guys, welcome to the I Love CVille show. My name is Jerry Miller. It's the Tuesday edition of the I Love CVille show, fresh from the 4th of July. Thank you kindly for joining us, guys. A lot to cover. Tuesdays mean Alex Erpy, CEO, Emergent Financial Services. He'll join us in about 20 minutes on this fair program. Judah Wickower, our director, will join us in about 2 minutes on this fair program. We'll catch up on what is always one of my favorite weekends in Charlottesville, certainly when the 4th of July happens to coincide with you know, the book cap or end cap, the front end or back end of a weekend. That 3-day weekend is nice. A lot I'm going to cover on today's program, guys. Gas, oil in particular, the standard for our country, WTI crude, dropped below $100 a barrel today. Below 100 smackaroos a barrel. We'll let you know why that's important and what that could indicate today on the program. We'll talk about 2 UVA athletes, one a basketball player and one a tennis player. The tennis player made it to the Sweet 16 of Wimbledon. That's big time news. Wimbledon is as good as it gets when it gets to tennis. The other, the basketball player, Anthony Gill, just signed a 2-year deal with the Washington Wizards to stay in D.C. Those topics and more on the Tuesday edition of the show. We'll talk 5th Street and Waffle House, the scuttlebutt around town as the Waffle House has closed. And are we in a transportation crisis in Charlottesville, Virginia? All those topics and more. Judah, two shot. Good afternoon, homie. How was your 4th of July before we get to the nitty gritty?
My 4th of July was great. How was yours?
Good. Liza, the I Love CVille mascot, she okay with the fireworks?
She is not bothered in the slightest by fireworks.
Neither is Max, the German Shepherd, my canine. Well, that's good to hear. 3-day weekend, coolest thing that happened to you over the 3-day weekend, or did you learn something that's especially appealing or compelling that you'd like to relay to your friends, your family, and your many fans that are watching the show?
That was a lot to unpack. I had a great 3-day weekend, just relaxed and had a great time. Enjoyed dunking my head in the pool at the place where I had July 4th potluck, and just got absolutely stuffed on good food.
What'd you learn this weekend? Tidbit to start, and then we'll get to the nitty gritty.
Well, I learned that the Waffle House on Fifth Street is kaput, gone.
Is it official?
From what I've read, there's a sign on the door saying that they are no longer in business.
Can any viewers and listeners watching this program, and do you have this camera on? No, we need that one for Alex. Actually, Alex is over here, so you can get this on my two-shot like we generally do. And I think we should also get the studio camera in the mix, please, as well, Judah. Alex Erpy joins us in 13 minutes on the program. Anybody, viewers and listeners watching this program, can they confirm the Waffle House on Fifth Street is now done, shut down forevermore? The scuttlebutt around town is that's the case. And the Waffle House being shut down forevermore permanently is due to labor, and that Waffle House cannot get people to work to keep the restaurant open. That evidently is what's circulating around town. Judah heard it. I've heard it from a few people. Can anyone put in the feed right now official confirmation of the Waffle House on Fifth Street closing? I'm going to ask this question to everyone watching the show. You take Charlottesville, Virginia, the Central Virginia, the Albemarle County culinary ecosystem. Who can name after-hours dining in Charlottesville and Albemarle County? Who? College Inn is closed. Pokey Sticks from Gumby's on the UVA corner that once satisfied UVA students like me, they don't exist anymore. What is the after-hours eats for Charlottesville? You have Wawa, you have some MTOs, and you had Waffle House. I'm going to ask this question as well.
You've still got Waffle House.
It's still open. You have the other Waffle House.
Yeah, there's two of them.
Here's the next question I have for everyone watching the program. Of any food and beverage position, any restaurant, any business that's in food and beverage, restaurants, quick serve, fast food, fast casual, whatever the hell you want to call the type of eating you're doing, window pickup, takeout, delivery, anything you want to call it, anything in that food umbrella, can anyone think of a more difficult employee roster to fill than the late night shift at Waffle House? The late night shift at Waffle House in Charlottesville, Virginia is the most difficult employee shift to fill. You deal with debaucherous drunks, fresh from the bar. There's not many folks eating after 2 in Charlottesville. They're not toasty, lubed up, feeling nicey nice. You may have some shift turnover, and some folks that just got off the early late night shift coming into Waffle House. But for the most part, especially on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, the Waffle House, after hours, and speaking from experience, is a den of drunkenness and debauchery. Can you think of a more difficult roster or a more difficult shift to fill in restaurants, Judah, than the Waffle House on a Thursday, Friday, or Saturday night after 2 o'clock? Can you think of one?
IHOP, Thursday, Friday, Saturday night after 2 a.m.
Is IHOP still late night open?
Can check.
Is IHOP still late night open? In of IHOP and Waffle House, which one do you think is more saucy? IHOP closes at 10 p.m.
Yeah, it looks like it closes at 12.
IHOP closes at 10 p.m. and
12
midnight
a.m.
Friday and Saturday.
Yeah.
There's a huge difference between the midnight crowd on Friday and Saturday and the 2:30 a.m. crowd on Friday, Saturday. Waffle House more difficult. Have you ever been in there after hours?
I don't think I've ever been in Waffle House in Charlottesville that late.
I have. It's crazy in there. There's the police puts 2 cruisers in the parking lot.
How many decades ago was that?
When I was last there after hours, late night, I'd say within the year.
This year you've been there
Within
after
the year.
2 a.m.?
Within the year. Yeah.
Wow.
Within the year. 2 cruisers in the parking lot, policing the tomfoolery and the shenanigans at the Fifth Street Waffle House. The next question I have for you is this. if the scuttlebutt is true and the Fifth Street Waffle House is in fact closed, you have a restaurant with parking on the south side of Charlottesville, a densely populated, well-heeled financially corridor of Charlottesville and Albemarle County. If Waffle House is in fact closed on 5th Street Extended, how long does that spot stay vacant, and where does it stack up with the most coveted places to do business from a restaurant standpoint in the area? That area is packed with people, packed with people. You have Wegmans, you have 64, you have parking, you have an island pad restaurant. We've talked about the ridiculous rents commanded by island pads in Charlottesville. For example, Ralph Sampson's Tap House in Barracks Road is an island pad, a restaurant that's a standalone restaurant. It's not associated with the shopping center. It's standalone. It's not attached to other stuff. Bricks Pizza, Chick-fil-A, there in Barracks Road, islands pads, super expensive. A Waffle House island pad, Southside Charlottesville, underserved restaurant corridor that has a lot of money. I don't see that staying vacant for long unless the inflation, supply chain, fuel, recession, economy concerns keeps it from staying vacant. Keeps it vacant.
I think that's a lot of big considerations.
God, you close your business because you can't find labor.
Yeah.
Ray Cadell is a huge fan of Waffle House. He's a traveling musician, one of the best in the business, and he says it's hugely popular for traveling musicians as well.
It's hugely popular for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it's one of the only places you can actually find hash browns around here, which is extremely odd. But
Well, hash browns, it depends.
What do you mean it depends?
In Charlottesville, hash browns are Scott Aaronworth in Virginia Beach just said he loves the hash browns at Waffle House.
Yeah.
The hash browns at Waffle House, let's dissect the hash browns at Waffle House. We have to analyze and dissect them from every side. The hash browns at Waffle House are the crunchy ones. They're the potatoes that are shredded, right? They're shredded into long strips.
Yeah,
into long, skinny strips.
Hash browns are potatoes shredded into long strips.
Charlottesville has misrepresented the hash brown for a long time. And Charlottesville has often called the hash brown the breakfast potato. The breakfast potato is not a hash brown. Or home fries are not hash browns.
Right. Charlottesville.
Hash browns are hash browns, not home fries or breakfast potatoes.
Yeah, exactly.
Because a lot of people misrepresent the hash brown as a breakfast potato or as a home fry.
Well, I don't know if there's been any misrepresentation. Everywhere I've gone, they always have home fries or breakfast potatoes, which are chopped up potatoes. They're not, they're not shredded.
But the hash brown is very different than a home fry or a breakfast potato.
Very different.
Very different.
I love hash browns.
And I love hash browns
and
too.
Charlottesville does not have hash browns unless you count non-local businesses.
Well, you're saying Waffle House.
Specifically, I'm saying I've never seen a local business in Charlottesville that serves hash browns.
Now, here's the next question for you on the hash brown. The Waffle House hash browns are how I like the hash browns. Is the McDonald's hash brown truly a hash brown?
It's a hash brown patty.
It's been congealed into almost like a hash brown brick for the purpose of fast food convenience.
Yeah.
It's essentially the same thing as the Waffle House hash brown.
It's not
that
as
crunch.
good.
It's not as good, no.
But
it's still crunchy and delicious.
But I would still take that over most home fries.
Well, yeah, I don't understand the home fries or the breakfast potato. Yeah. When I see the home fry or the breakfast potato, I substitute the home fry or the breakfast potato. I don't want the home fry or the breakfast potato. I don't want it.
There are some people that do them well, but most of the time, yeah, I'm the same way. I'm just, I'm not interested.
And one of the most undervalued and underappreciated breakfast or brunch side, you know what it is? Grits. You give me grits with the fixings, like chopped up ham, a little bacon bits, some cheddar cheese, and some, what's the green stuff that you sprinkle on top of the grits?
Would it be green onions?
Maybe green onions. You give me that in like a porridge setting and stir it all around. Dude, I'm like the Cheshire Cat with a sleeve of Ritz crackers and a canister of Cheese Whiz. Happy. Like very happy.
I didn't realize that was the thing with the
Oh, it's Cheshire Cat loves Ritz and Cheese Whiz. So Waffle House, we will do some reconnaissance on whether the Fifth Street Waffle House has been shut down forevermore. I found this story interesting, and this is the impact of the Virginia wine industry. I see Neil Williamson watching. His vineyard, where he's a co-owner, Well Hung Vineyards, is a part of this. This is according to a recently released report, The Economic Impact of Virginia Wines in 2019. The economic impact of Virginia wines was estimated at $1,730 million. That number is so hard to decipher, it's so big. 1.73 billion. 1.73 billion is 1,730 million. That's the economic impact of Virginia wine in 2019. 1.73 billion with a B. That was a 27% increase from 2015. The study calculated wine production, sales, wine grape farming. Virginia wines contributed more than $200 million in taxes to the state, said Kirk Wiles, the chairman of the Virginia Wine Board. I mean, listen to these stats. Across the Commonwealth, there were reported increases from 2015. Here are the reported increases from 2015. Full-time equivalent jobs from 2015 to 2019 in Virginia wine were up 27%. The number of wineries in Virginia from 2015 to 2019 jumped 37%. Mm-hmm. Revenue from wine-related tourism jumped 31% from 2015 to 2019. I mean, the impact of wine on the Commonwealth is almost as significant. Do you know what what fields or sectors of business have the largest impact of economic impact on the Commonwealth? You know what number one is? This has come up on the past on the I Love Seville network.
Has it?
Yeah.
Let's see.
We're doing some educating here. Number one.
Number one in Virginia, man. I would guess.
You know this. You know this.
Government, but
yeah, government contracting on a year-to-year basis from a GDP output standpoint has the most positive, greatest impact on economic impact on the Commonwealth. Government contracting. That's number one. You know what number two is? I know these for facts. I know number one and two for facts.
Colleges?
No. Two is real estate. Those stats provided by Dr. Lisa Sturtevant, formerly the chief economist of Virginia Association of Realtors.
VAR.
Yeah, VAR. Dr. Sturtevant now, the economist for Bright, the Bright MLS, I believe, which is a very big deal that's kind of flying under the radar, that Sturtevant is now at Bright. The wine impact is obscene. I mean, it's obscene.
In a good way. You
what?
don't mean that. You don't mean obscene in a bad way.
No, I mean obscene in like an incredibly positive, amazing, shocking, jaw-dropping, almost $2 billion, $1.75 billion from Virginia wines in 2019. Now here's the question I have. I have questions constantly. I'm a very inquisitive person. What's the drop from the sector in 2020 and 2021 because of COVID? So I want to see how those numbers dropped in 2020 and 2021, because I can assure you the economic impact from Virginia wine in 2020 and 2021 is lower than 1.73 billion. And then the follow-up question I would have is, now that we're in this endemic state of being, what has that done for business at Virginia wineries and vineyards? Because the ones I visit, it's gangbusters, it's bananas, it's crazy times. They're packed. People are itching to spend and get out that pent-up demand.
For now.
What does for now mean? Inflation, recession, pandemic, all the above?
Yeah, I think it means, I've been hearing things about one guy saying, I don't think there's any problem with, there's no chance of a recession because I took a vacation and I saw a lot of people on the roads, along with a lot of truckers on the roads. The problem with that being that a lot of those people may have already scheduled vacations previously. They've already spent the money, and from what I've heard, I think a lot of other people are just saying, screw it. We've been stuck inside for 2 years. We need to do this. We're gonna put it on the card, and we're gonna take the family out.
Well, I will say this, that fuel costs are rising so quickly that the price for flying is astronomical right now. The airlines are also, like everywhere else, Waffle House, Fifth Street closed, labor. Airlines are canceling flight left and right because of labor. So not only is it more expensive than ever to fly, but the quality of life is about as crappy as it's ever been to fly. So you're paying the most you've ever spent, and your return on investment for what you're paying, what you're getting, is horrendous.
Yeah, I talked to someone yesterday who said that I can't remember why they were going down to Florida. I'm pretty sure it was to see family, but it was time sensitive, and they found out that the airline was going to had to postpone their flight till within a week later.
Yeah, not
and
pretty.
So they drove.
Yeah. I mean, think about the driving piece. I mean, you know how much it costs to rent a car for a day right now? My wife and our son, they're in Long Island spending time with my in-laws right now. It's my mother-in-law's birthday. They took a rental from Charlottesville to Long Island, 1 day rental, just 1 day, 24 hours.
Yeah.
And you got to return it with fuel.
Right.
But 1 day rental, $274.
Sheesh.
Hertz Gold Card member. That's not even off the street rate. That's Gold Club with points.
That's
$274
insanity.
for 24 hours. Nissan entry midsize. That's insane.
That is
$274. Flight.
See, that's where the word obscene comes in handy.
Well,
because
flight. I mean, a flight's 2x that. A flight is 2x that. So renting a car one way back from Long Island and back, 274. Quick math. What is that? 248 bucks. 548. 548. 548 bucks. We needed the genius of Alex Erpy to do 274 times 2. Thank you, Alex Erpy. He's in the green room. He's about to join us. But that's insane. That is insane. Round trip flight though for 2 people would have been 3-4x that. And it would have been way
depending
longer.
on when you got the tickets and a bunch of other things, but yeah.
2 minutes for Alex Erpy here on the program, CEO of Emergent Financial Services. A couple other topics I want to get to. I want to talk about transportation crisis in this town. Michael Payne did a post on his Facebook page 5 days ago. We haven't heard an official announcement that Michael Payne is running for re-election, but the guy is one of the busiest people in Charlottesville, shaking hands, kissing babies, pressing flesh, and getting to know people. And he's utilizing social media in very transparent ways. And he just launched a public access television show. I would say to Michael Payne, you'll reach a lot more people on the I Love CVille network than on a public access television show where people don't watch TV on a box anymore. So if you ever want to host the Michael Payne show, you could gladly do it here on the I Love CVille network. Someone passed that along to Michael Payne. But he did a post on bus routes. And he did it 5 days ago, and the gist of the post was Charlottesville City Schools, they're going to have less bus routes for kids in the fall. And they're introducing a new thing, a new bus route. This is what the new bus route is called. It's called a walking route. It's not a bus route, it's a walking route. Do you know what a walking route is? When you don't have enough buses for your kids, so your kid walks to school. That's what a walking route is.
I remember it well.
That's what's happening this fall. So you
uphill both ways, 5 miles in the snow.
You've turned into your father.
You've now turned officially into your father.
My dad never had to walk to school.
You've officially turned into your father. You have no children that you know of, but you officially turned into your father over here. Dude, explain this to me. The Charlottesville City Schools, public schools, right? They got Buford that's crumbling, right? Mm-hmm. They got the short end of the stick on learning remotely during the pandemic, right? They did. Bus drivers, can't hire them, can't keep them on the job, can't get them driving kids.
I mean, they fired one of them that we know of, right?
You're saying because of no vaccine?
Yeah.
That was county. That was Albemarle County. He came on the show. That was Albemarle County.
Charlottesville isn't the only city that's dealing with bus driver shortages.
No, CDL shortages across the board, and it's not just bus drivers; it's truck drivers, it's public transportation drivers. It's. I mean, do you want to get in a tin can and drive strangers around? Post-pandemic, I mean, that's what it really comes down to. When the pay's not that great, it's really what it comes down to. So the question I have is: Charlottesville and this area a transportation crisis? It's a housing crisis. Do we have a transportation crisis? And I'm so tired of these splintered transportation brands. CAT, Jaunt, University Transit, Charlottesville City Schools, Albemarle Counties. Just put it under one umbrella. Get it under one umbrella. Coordinate with the same back end and drive the people around with the same infrastructure and under the same brand on the same routes. Use built-in efficiencies and economies of scale and vertical integration to run a transportation system under one brand, under one umbrella. This is called common sense.
It's an interesting idea, but you're not seriously suggesting that the same buses that drive students to school are going to be running bus routes around.
That's exactly what I'm suggesting. That's literally exactly what I'm suggesting.
Do you honestly think that parents are gonna allow their kids to get on buses with any random stranger who happens to be on that
Their
bus
kids
route?
can't get on the buses right now because there's no buses to drive them. If you're a parent and you have to work a job, mom and dad both work, and it comes down to your son or daughter getting on a bus that's Central Virginia Transportation Service, Charlottesville Area Transit, whatever the hell unifying brand we want to call it, and your mom and dad and you both have to be at work and you can't drive your kid to school and you can't pick them up, and your mom and dad and you have to make this decision. My kid has to get on a bus with some strangers to get to and from school, or I don't know how my kid can get to school. What decision are you going to make?
I think you're nuts.
I'm not nuts.
I don't think anyone is ever going to agree to something like that.
CAT, the Charlottesville Area Transit, is operating horribly. It does not have enough riders. There's not enough riders to justify Charlottesville Area Transportation, CAT. That statement I just made is factual. Okay. It's a losing money CAT does not make money. It loses money hand over fist. And people just chalk it up as saying public transportation is a utility and it's not a for-profit endeavor. I don't buy that. I say, why don't you merge CAT and Jaunt and UTS and all these other mumbo-jumbo acronyms into one, and then you get one transportation system that's transporting students and locals alike. That's a damn good idea.
I'm with you until you add in the students. I don't think parents are ever gonna go for that.
Well, let's see how it goes this fall, where little Johnny and little Betty are gonna have to take their tricycle across Rio Road to get to Jack Jewett Middle School. They're gonna play Frogger at the Hilltop grocery store to get to Jack Jewett from the neighborhood Georgetown Road. That's what's gonna happen. That's what's gonna happen. All right, last topics. Then we get to our friend Alex Erpy. That's a great idea. You know that's a great idea. This is something I'm going to bring up with Alex Erpy today. WTI, the barrel fell below $100 today. I also want to bring this one up to you as well, Alex. 12% of automobile buyers in June have a $1,000 payment or more.
That's insane.
That's insane. 12%. This is the highest it's ever been in American history. 12% of automobile buyers in the month of June financed a vehicle and their monthly payment is $1,000 or more on that car.
Can you say car bubble?
Well, yeah, we've been talking about the car bubble. And before we get, in fact, Alex, why don't we get you on set here so we can pick your brain on that. 3-shot, you can get that ready to go when he's on, or go to the studio camera. 2 other items before I forget it. Anthony Gill signed a 2-year extension with the Washington Wizards. He's going to stay in with the Wizards for another 2 years. And then from a tennis standpoint, UVA men's tennis player, former Virginia men's tennis player, Brandon Nakashima, made the round of 16 at Wimbledon. Big time. UVA sports representing very well. J-Dubs, 3-shot. Antonio Banderas of finance on set. Alex Erpy. Your 4th of July, how are you?
Happy 4th of
Was it
July.
good?
The day after was a beautiful day.
What'd you do?
Spent it mostly with friends. I have friends that have a beautiful spot on top of a hill that can see multiple. We could see like fireworks in 3 directions.
Nice.
Very nice. So it's always good to hang out with people that you know and love.
Very nice. So Alex, where do you want to begin today? Open-ended question. Tuesday after July, we're in the now officially the second half of 2022. What are you watching in the second half of 2022?
Well, first thing I'm watching is the GDP number for second quarter, so the end of the first half. It was basically trending negative towards the end there. If that number ends up being negative, that's officially the definition of recession. It will be 2 quarters of negative growth. And it was trending in that direction towards the end there. Probably why we're seeing oil down 8% today, dropping below 100. In other words, oil, like I always say on the show, oil is supply and demand. Up until now, we have seen low supply relative to demand, hence the spike in oil prices. But remember, every market, including oil, is forward-looking. So a drop in the oil price of this magnitude of 8% means the futures markets are looking into the future and saying, I don't think there's going to be that much demand relative to supply. I'm not going to pay you as much for this oil. That's why we're seeing it drop.
So that's something I want to talk to him about. Judah, if you have ammunition for this topic, just give me a sign. You can jump in anytime you want, sir. $100 a barrel below that threshold for the first time since May 11th.
Yep.
May 11th. So the futures market indicates that people are going to essentially stay home. That's basically what this is saying, right?
Pretty much. I mean,
they're not going to use their automobiles.
There's only 2 ways that oil price goes down. It's either the futures market sees a big influx of oil. I am not seeing that. But I think the recent deadline that the administration had put out new oil leases came and went, and there were no new leases. So I don't see an increase in supply. So it seems to me that this is the future oil market saying we see less demand, less travel, less demand. Sometimes it can also be less demand, worrisomely, less demand for goods and services also means less goods need to be transported from place to place.
Okay, so if people travel less and they stay at home more, they spend money on less things. They spend money less on gas, they spend money less on restaurants, on booze, and on things. That means the consumer or the American is going to have potentially more money again. This reminded me, or almost is making me nostalgic of the start of the pandemic, where the writing on the wall was, well, it wasn't writing on the wall, we were told to stay home. And when we were told to stay home, we didn't spend money on anything. So then what happened was our savings went up, credit card debt went down, and then our balance sheets improved. Is that this, or is this very different because all other aspects of overhead still are at sky high, even if we stay home?
Exactly. It's different because in this case, you would be looking at less consumer spending because people have less money in their pocket. 2020 was less consumer spending because you had this money in your pocket and the government said, stay home. In other words, you have your discretionary income didn't change, right? Your disposable income was the same. You could have gone out, but you had no choice but to stay home. Therefore, you just put that money in your pocket, put it in your savings. Here, people are spending less because they have less money to spend. Inflation has hit them, and they're worried more about, do I have enough to make ends meet? 2020, I think our worries were more health related. I don't think we were sitting there saying, do I have enough money to make ends meet? But rather, I don't want to get sick, and so forth. So it's a very different scenario here that we're looking at here. In other words, consumer spending declining pre-recession is usually I don't have enough money, and I am nervous about where things are going in the future, including my job prospects.
I believe we have a former Chuck Lewis Passion Award winner watching right now. Please help me, Cynthia Murray.
Cynthia Murray, yes, indeed.
Memory right?
Yep.
Yes. Cynthia Murray says, great discussion as always, guys. She's finding this fascinating. If you want to jump in at all, let me know. I don't want to monopolize here, J-Dubs. I know you love when Alex gets here. So when do we see the drop in price when we go to the gas station?
So that may be.
Because it's still high fours.
It's still high fours. I think what was Costco today? $4.39.
$4.63
so
coming down
a little
Pantops.
higher. Yeah, it's usually a little higher elsewhere. Those can take a while because the two things, and this is part of the reason is I know it's a very common complaint that the gas stations very quickly up their price, but they very slowly decrease their prices. It's two things. A, typically, right, the gas you are getting at the pump now has already been paid for in the past. So, in other words, if I, the gas station, purchased this gas at a higher price in the past, I'm not selling you this gas at the new lower price now, right? On the flip side, however, if I suspect that prices will be higher in the future than they are today, I am going to increase the price of the gas I sell regardless of what I purchased it for. So as you can see, there's always an upward, just the economics of how it works is that there's always an upward pressure. The gas station owner does not want to be caught having sold you gas at too low of a price when he's going to have to pay more for it in the future. But on the flip side, even though gas prices are going down now, he's not going to take a loss on the gas that he purchased months ago because the price has gone now. So that usually takes a while. In other words, what's going to happen in order to see the gas at the pump decline to match this, A, it has to be somewhat sustainable. In other words, if it drops 8% today but then goes up again 8% tomorrow, the retail gas stations are not going to change their price on a day-to-day basis, right? You need to see somewhat sustainable, and the retail gas, remember, most retail gas stations in the United States are not owned by oil companies.
Right.
So they're
They're
oil
middlemen.
company
They're
is
middlemen.
their middlemen.
Yeah,
The
they're
oil
getting
company is their supplier. So they are going to be very cautious before they make any moves because they do not have inside information on where the price of oil is going. So they are going to sit there and very cautiously drop the price over time if this holds. But I would say you're probably looking, usually it's a matter of weeks after an oil price decline for that to start to be reflected in what you pay at the pump.
Judah Wickower is the jack of all wit. Judah Wickower on today's program. Judah says he's got something on his mind. My friend, the show is yours.
Yeah, I think the prices may be down more from speculation than anything else, and I mean the White House is trying. It's just kind of goofy. They've been tweeting to gas stations telling them to lower the gas prices.
I think we can assume that will be summarily ignored.
Yeah.
How many gas station owners are on Twitter following Biden?
I doubt many at all. Mm-hmm. I doubt many at all. So what do you make of the, I mean, you've said on this show, I think we've all said on this show, we all think that it's recession, right?
It's looking like it.
Yeah. What do you think pulls us out of this? And then we'll get to some comments coming in here for you.
To be honest, I think sometimes we make a mistake if we look for something to actually, an external force to pull us out. A recession is part of the business cycle, and it is the business cycle that will eventually get us out of recession. In other words, people will stop spending, inventories in businesses will decline to the point that those businesses, obviously first business starts laying off people, they start getting rid of inventory. Inventory declines to the point where businesses are like, all right, no matter what, I need to, even at this low level of spending, I need to buy more, I need to produce more. They start needing to hire people again. The consumer at some point has now saved enough. They now need to purchase some things. Sometimes you reach a point where usually what happens is first you cut out durable goods. So first you cut out, I'm not going to buy a new washing machine, I'm not going to buy a new dryer, so forth. At some point you hit the point where like I have no choice, my washing machine is broken, I will not buy one, and then things turn around. So it's the cycle itself that really gets us out of recessions. My philosophy, and I know some people disagree, my philosophy is that the Federal Reserve usually just messes things up when they try to do this. They either create bubbles, they pop bubbles, they keep rates too low for too long, they increase rates when they shouldn't. They always are behind the 8 ball.
Speaking of keeping rates low for too long, how badly has that affected the cycle that you're talking about? Because previously, when they hadn't kept rates down so low for so long, they had more, I guess wiggle
Arrows in the
room.
quiver.
Well, if you want to stop a recession, you raise rates. If you
He's saying rates were already up.
I mean,
Other way
not
around.
recession. If you want to stop inflation, you raise rates, and that leads us towards recession. And then you can lower rates, and that brings us back into inflation tier. Basically, you've got this sine wave. But since they've kept rates so low for so long, do they now no longer have any room to maneuver?
Well, I think this is a good point, and I think we kind of saw the detrimental effects of that in 08-09 when they had so little room to maneuver that even when rates went to zero, what did they start doing? They basically went to quantitative easing, which means basically it's helicopter bend. It's literally just printing money out of thin air and pumping it into the system. And I think we saw by the third round of that in 2011, I think the return on that was like 8. In other words, for every dollar they printed, they added 8 cents to the economy. In other words, there's a very decreasing rate of return on the Fed's ability to impact the economy once they go to QE, once they start printing money out of thin air.
Right.
And the issue is there's always, like you said, Judah's exactly right, there's always that kind of wave of the business cycle. The concern is that the Fed, by attempting to influence the business cycle, just makes those waves a higher magnitude. In other words, we have higher highs and much lower lows. My hope is that they have not done that again this time. In other words, my hope is that they will not go down this path of raising rates enough to really hurt the economy even more so, but failing to actually deal with inflation. We will see whether that's the case, but I think, in other words, recession itself, if you leave it alone, will end. There is no such thing as a recession that never ends, and I think a lot of the depressions we think of that were very deep were caused by malpractice on the part of people in charge, including the Federal Reserve.
Alex Erpy on fire today. John Blair. Hello, John. I hope the 4th of July was good to you, my friend. Bill McKenzie says the ABC stores will do very, very well again if people choose to stay home. And they certainly did very, very well during the pandemic, Bill McKenzie. And then it was interesting, as we got used to enjoying the ABC store and its fine spirits at home, when we started returning back to restaurants for happy hour, we were like, hey, I was pouring myself a lot stiffer drinks.
Remind you how much the restaurant drink is watered down and how much ice they put.
Right, and then we wondered about our COVID-19 and why everyone was a little heftier. It's because we were like 3 and 4 finger pouring our drinks, or at least I was. All right, I want to throw this to you guys. I found this topic fascinating. Judah and Alex, and then I'll give my take here. The first time in American, this number is the highest it's been in American history. In the month of June, this past month, 12% of car or automobile buyers financed the vehicle at a monthly payment of $1,000 or more. That's according to Edmunds. Edmunds, last year it was 7.3%. Last year, it's over 12% now. So you're talking about a 5 percentage point increase. So here's the exact sentence from the CNBC article that I found thought-provoking. For the first time, just over 12% of consumers who financed a new car in June committed to a monthly payment of $1,000 or more, the highest level on record, compared to 7.3% 1 year ago, Edmunds found. $1,000 or more is darn near close to a mortgage payment.
I was about to say, it's beginning to approach a mortgage.
For the first time for a home.
Approach a mortgage.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, because I would imagine mortgage payments are more than $1,000 now.
Now they are.
Yeah.
Now they are with rates rising. What do you make of this? To put it in perspective here, I'll put this in perspective from a real estate standpoint. I own a 3-bedroom, 2-bath
condo at the Villas at Southern Ridge that is a rental property. It's 1,300 square feet. This is a structure. It's rented to a family. And my mortgage payment on that one was $1,000, 1,004 a month. It was $1,004 a month. So this is a hell of a lot of
Yeah,
money.
this is
What do you
mortgage.
make of this?
I think it goes to show you, impact, just remember, rising rates push up all the rates, including financing. Gone, apparently, are the days of 0% financing for 24, 48 months. Car prices, obviously, as used car prices, we saw this, used car prices went up a lot. Obviously, some people felt pushed to then go ahead and finance a new car. In this case, is this just new or new and used?
This is,
I guess theoretically you could finance a used
this
as
is
well.
both.
but
This is both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in other words, if you can no longer afford a used car outright because used car prices went up so much because there just are no new cars out there, it's only a matter of time before you need to pay a lot to finance used cars and pushes up the average.
I mean, here's a crazy comment. Here's a crazy comment. We all saw with our personal property taxes, Charlottesville's were due June 6th, so a month ago. Albemarle County's were due June 27th, so last week. We saw with our personal property taxes that the automobile market, our automobiles have appreciated in value. They've gone up in value. Is this now an asset that's going to appreciate?
Cars,
Are we now calling these appreciating assets? I mean, are these prices justified if the vehicles increase 12 to 25% in value year over year? Or is this an anomaly, a blip on the radar tied to supply chain and labor shortages that is soon going to cause a bubble that's going to be the next one to pop?
yeah, I would lean towards number two.
Yeah?
It seems like historically, let's be real. I think I was told once by a dealer, the moment you drive a car off a lot,
30% drop.
I heard 50, but 30% is
Yeah.
a good estimate as well. It just drops almost in half. The issue is we've seen a temporary blip increase in used car because there was a shortage of new cars. In other words, once you put a shortage, it's down the chain. You have a shortage of new cars, the price of new cars skyrockets. Now anyone who would have bought a new car and can't afford one goes to the used car market, the used car prices go up.
It's like the same thing that's happening in housing. It's happening
Pretty
in
much.
cars.
Well, pretty much. I mean,
There's
think about
a shortage.
why the rents go up so much, right? Shortage of housing.
Yeah.
Becomes more expensive to purchase a house. People who would have purchased go into rentals. The rental price goes up.
Yeah.
So it's down the chain there. That doesn't mean the difference here is cars.
Break
It's
down.
a lot easier to increase in inventory in cars than it is inventory in housing.
And it's cars break down, and new technology comes out at a quicker clip than new technology associated with constructing new homes. So a home holds its value longer. Ooh, Xavier's got some questions. Xavier, I missed some of these comments here. So the show airs on 15 Facebook pages, and I can only have, I don't know if you have this issue on my particular computer, and it's a nice MacBook Air, Apple MacBook Air. I have as many tabs open as possible, but if I open like too many tabs, it just doesn't perform well. So I
starts
pick
slowing
like
it
the most
down.
popular ones. He's commenting on I Love Seville Network, which I did not have open. So he has some comments I got to fire at.
Oh,
you.
go for it. Go
Okay.
for it.
Ask Alex what is worse, a recession or high inflation?
So, in many ways, depends on who you are. The issue is persistent high inflation is worse over time.
Yeah,
it's
high inflation
it's
is
eating
worse.
you away in perpetuity. Recession comes and you come out of it. High inflation, you're in trouble for a long time.
Oh, man. He says the Atlanta GDP now is at -1 as of 6/30/2022, and as of 7/1/2022, it was at -2%.
Yeah, that's so. Fed Atlanta GDP now, for those who aren't familiar, it's a tracker that the Atlanta Federal Reserve Bank created, which forms an estimate of what they think the official GDP number will be. It has a pretty good track record. It is usually pretty close. So if it's at -2, I would say there's a 90% chance that means we're looking at negative GDP in the second quarter.
I mean, we know it's that, right? Was the last one was COVID? Was
The-
2020?
Yeah, the last one that was technically a recession,
Technically a
even though, I
recession.
mean, the numbers of that year are just absurd.
Yeah, because it was an anomaly.
Mm-hmm.
Anything you want to add to him before I ask him out today, mañana? Judah?
No, I'm not surprised that the GDP numbers are coming in low. It's you know we're looking at red again, and just you know, I mean, people are paying $1,000 for a car.
$1,000 for a car, $100 to fill up that car every time. Think about this. You bought a new car in June, and we're empathetic. We're empathetic. You bought a new car in June. You're living paycheck to paycheck. You have to finance the car. Your payment's $1,000 a month or somewhere in that neighborhood. Then you go to the gas station to put gas in your car, and it's costing you $100 to fill up that gas tank.
My hope is that most of those
Your rent went up 16% year over year. Your groceries has gone up 8% year over year. What am I missing here?
I mean,
Where's the money?
just
Where's the money?
just
Well, exactly, well, and
just
then you wanna-
pile everything in there. Groceries.
Exactly.
Where's the money?
Yeah. Well, my hope is that most of the people paying those $1,000 a month payments on cars are people that knew what they were doing and took out.
Knew what they were doing.
Look.
$1,000 plus a month.
Not all
car
the
payment?
people paying that much for a car are going to be lower to middle class people who, were tricked into getting a,
But the deep-pocketed
that was the
individual, the deep-pocketed individual sitting on cash, and I maybe you're right, but the deep-pocketed individual sitting on cash is going to say, this money in my bank account is losing 8% every day because of inflation. I'm not going to then take this cash, take a car loan, finance it over 5, 6, 7 years, whatever the hell it is, at whatever the interest rate is. Floating debt, by the way, that debt's associated, tied to prime, right? I don't think the car loan interest rates are fixed rates. I believe those are floating rates.
I'm not 100% sure.
I'm pretty sure it's a floating rate. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe it's a fixed rate.
I don't know about that because my car payments when I had them always remained.
Maybe
the
it's a
same.
fixed rate.
It's
Okay,
very
so
commonly.
maybe
I've
it's
seen
fixed.
I've seen some fixed.
Maybe it's fixed. All right, maybe it's fixed. But the wealthy guy, the wealthy gal is not going to say, I'm going to finance this over 5 or 7 years if they got the cash in the bank. They're going to buy the car.
But
No,
You're going to say they finance it
The
at 6-7%?
depends on how. There's a certain level of wealth that if you sit there and you think you've got a return higher than that, in the
Where,
market,
though?
you finance that car. Once you go into private equity, they can find some returns. The wealthier you are, weirdly enough, the more likely you might be to actually think about that.
Because the finance rate probably for a vehicle is 6-7% here.
Yeah.
Is for good credit.
I was going to say, depending on if you're really wealthy, you might actually think about it for that reason. But I think to Judah's point, I think he's right. You're probably looking that I would hope that what we're seeing, that 12% is probably your middle to upper middle class person that can't afford it, but can afford the payment, can't afford to buy the car outright. The issue is
Because they'll finance the car for you. You can get a car if you can't afford a car. You're still going to get financing for that car. This ain't like a house. You're not going to get financing for a 30-year house. Right. You'll get financing for a car.
For a car.
They'll just take that car back.
Yeah.
They're not going to do it to you for a house.
No, of course. It's a lot easier to resell a car.
Just take a car back.
They'll take the car back. No, but point being is, in other words, they can afford that $1,000 payment, but now guess what? They're not going out and doing a lot of consumer spending.
Yeah.
Their disposable income now just got chopped off by $1,000.
That
Everything
Audi
else is
A5.
up. And so they're not gonna go to the store and buy as much other stuff as they would have. They might cut down on going out to eat for a little while because you just took $1,000 out of your budget.
When you see a recession, when you start seeing luxury automobiles delivering pizzas, when you start seeing the Domino sign on an Audi or a Mercedes or a BMW, you know things are a little sketchy around these parts. And if you see one of those, take a picture and send it to us and we'll get it on the show. Bill says people that don't understand value economics will buy cars on payment, but many get themselves into things like balloon payments. Yeah, that's a slippery,
That's the
ugly
concern is people
slope.
who sign up to this stuff and don't quite understand what they are on the hook for.
What they're on the hook for. Today, y mañana, what do you got for Thursday?
Same around local small business owners. I mean, it is small business that we want to make sure gets through recession in good shape. It's our friends at Pharmacy Cafe. They are
Ooh.
right here on the
In the
mall.
Code Building.
Code Building, right across the way there. Fantastic food. I was talking with Xavier. I had a naan. This was a few months ago. Naan with chorizo.
Ooh.
In the middle of which is a sandwich wrap. It was delicious from Pharmacy. So Gabino and Jessica Lino of Pharmacy are going to join Xavier and me on Today and Mañana on Thursday.
I love
So
it.
Great local small business CIC graduates. So another Community Investment Collaborative graduate there.
Nicholas Erpy says, do Judah and Jerry have a favorite go-to painkiller on a rough day from the ABC store? Judah, do you have one? I'm going to go with the...
Painkiller, I'd say Advil and lots of water.
Well, I think he means
I think he
booze.
means, yeah.
I think he means
He
booze.
means what liquor do you drink?
He means, what are you drinking? He's asking, what are you drinking?
Okay, it sounded like you said, say it again.
What do you drink after a tough day at work?
Oh, after a tough day at work.
Not that he ever has a tough day
It
at
sounded
work.
like you said it was a tough day of drinking.
Okay, sorry, I didn't speak clearly enough. He says specifically, do Judah and Jerry have a favorite go-to painkiller on a rough day from the ABC store?
Tequila.
Wow,
Oh,
tequila.
tequila.
I would never have guessed that.
Tequila.
Okay.
Alright.
I'll go the Buffalo Trace bourbon. Woody Fincham gave us a big bourbon bottle of that. I think he's watching the show. It's been good.
Yep.
You're always good.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Always love being on.
Is that a new shirt?
I don't know. I not new, but maybe I haven't worn it on the
I like
show
it.
yet.
Looks
It's
good.
it's my summer shirt. It's that little, that lighter material
Yeah,
that
it's
makes
very
you
nice.
feel good.
Very nice, Alex. For Alex Irby and Judah Whitcower, my name is Jerry Miller, and this is the I Love Seville show on a Tuesday. We're back tomorrow at 10:15 a.m. with Real Talk with Keith Smith at 10:15 a.m. You guys have a good one. Take care. Good job, guys.
Fantastic.
Alex.
Great show. Yeah, we will see what happens.
Yeah.
With this down.